Riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. Here's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, Roy Cohn to my Joseph McCarthy, co-host extraordinaire, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
I am terrified.
Okay. You say it so joyously. What's got you frightened, good friend?
Well, Garrett, you know, as our audience knows, that I've been up in New York City setting up our East Coast headquarters. Well, I noticed there were some rather large rats in our building. So I did what anyone would do. I went down to the corner store. They call them bodegas and they will slap your face if you don't. Anyway, I bought some Raid. Turns out,
got some poison.
2 rats, or at least to these rats, Raid is borderline PCP to them.
Oh no.
There were so many hulked out rats, they consumed 2 interns.
I don't believe that at all. I don't know what you did with those 2, but I do not think they were consumed. Well, maybe they were ultimately consumed by rats. Tough to say what happened beforehand. Your Raid thing sounds suspicious.
Okay. I brought back a series of these rats, and after the show, I'm going to spray them with Raid and release them in our Austin headquarters, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, not looking forward to that at all.
It's
Fantastic.
possible that the bodega guy sold me PCP.
One of those classic miscommunications about slang. You meant poison, he meant PCP.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett, hold on.
Yeah. Well, what? What's up?
Instead of the rat thing, you want to do a little PCP after this?
Here's the problem. What if it's Raid? I feel like you didn't consider that.
Well, you made a very good case that it might have been PCP, I think. Or maybe I did. I don't know.
Tough to say. I like those odds, though. 50-50.
Chain up an intern and test it.
Let's get a volunteer from our interns and not chain anyone up, or at least not talk about it on air. Tim, this is a music podcast, typically, sometimes. So I'm going to ask you, what song have we been listening to on repeat for an entire week long?
We have been listening to 1989's We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel, a.k.a. The P-Man. This was requested by Dwayne Benton and Ian Smith.
That's a terrible nickname.
That's what he asked me to call him. I said the Piano Man in our pre-show interview, and he said, no. That's too long. P-Man. It was actually the first interview I've ever conducted in person.
Right, with the P-Man.
Well, I mean, briefly. Most of it was fighting off drugged rats.
I mean, the story is flimsy, minus 2 details we can agree on. 1, 2 interns are in fact missing. 2, you are covered in bites.
Rat bites. Some people bites. Mostly rat bites.
Timmy, after an entire week of fighting off mutant rats and listening to Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire, I'm curious, do you hate this song?
Yeah, I do. This sucks. This song sucks.
Less mature.
Yep. How about you, Garrett? Do you hate this song?
Well, Timmy, yeah, I really do. I do. My God, I do.
It's a bad song. People think it's not a bad song, but they're wrong.
They're mistaken. Yeah. Bad song. Wow. Yeah. We're going to get into it. Boy, are we going to get into it. Billy Joel might agree. But before we do, Tim, I'm curious, prior to this week, what is your experience with the BJ Man? AKA.
Well, that's not good.
Oh, we are starting off poorly. And more specifically, what's your experience with his hit single, We Didn't Start the Fire?
I first remember hearing this song on May 10th, 1995, Garrett. I was in the audience of a middle school talent show. There were jugglers. There was a girl who just kind of jumped rope. There was a kid that sang a karaoke version of Leader of the Pack by the Shangri-Las while sitting on, I don't remember, either a bicycle or possibly even a tricycle. Either way, genius. There was a group of kids that played air guitar and lip sync to Weird Al Yankovic's The White Stuff with like a fake drum kit that was designed to look like Oreos. and then someone sang this song in a jean jacket. I didn't know any of these people. I'm not 100% sure they went to my school.
I'm not certain you went to that school.
Awesome. It was an awesome talent show. It set the bar even higher than television or movies would for high school or middle school talent shows. It might have also been the first time that I truly understood that music could just kind of suck.
Interesting.
But yeah, that day I did decide to pledge my life to finding a like-minded individual, giving up all worldly possessions, and despite my mother's pleas, spending all my time listening to and then making fun of bad music, and committing the occasional unrelated strangling on the west side of major universities all across this great nation. But, Garrett, is this the first time the P-Man has filled your Joel hole?
It's a lot to take in there.
Have you heard this song before?
Wow. Yes. Yes, I have. Jesus, Tim. Really coming in guns blazing today. And I love it. I didn't hear it at a talent show, but I definitely owned the CD. Not the C-dingle, but the CD, courtesy of Columbia House. Thanks, gents. And I'm pretty sure I own, and you are in proximity of, the album on which this exists on vinyl. I think I inherited it from a guy I used to work with.
Your father?
No. I also got records from my father, but no, I've never worked with him. He said I wasn't allowed.
Your work ethic was terrible. Still is.
As for the Joel man himself, Captain Beej, I am a Joel head from way back, Tim, but that might have all been ruined this week. At the starts 7 days ago, I liked this song.
I liked it the first 3 times I listened to it this week.
That feels right. You know what? That feels right. I was going to say I made it a little further, but that would have been lying. We're going to get into it, folks. That's what the show is about, kind of. But, I was a huge Joel head. Piano Man? Give me some Piano Man. I will sing every word of that song if it comes on the radio.
Now,
never again, though.
If you're in the room with Billy Joel when it comes on, he sings it as P-Man when he is singing along to his own song. It's weird.
What does that mean? I don't know what that sentence means. He sings it as P-Man.
You know how the song mentions the phrase Piano Man a bunch of times?
Sure does.
When he is singing along
P-Man.
to it, he says P-Man. Yeah.
But in the song, he stretches it into 3 notes. Piano Man. Mm-hmm. So it's just P-Man?
He says it, yes. And weirdly, no. He says it without any vocal intonation whatsoever. It's very monotone. It's very flat. He just says P-Man.
Well, that sounds like it would ruin the song.
Listening to Billy Joel music with Billy Joel, not a great time.
I'll tell you what, doing most things, especially driving in a car with Billy Joel, not a good time.
True.
I don't know if there's anything about that in the history, but I seem to recall once in a while he hits buildings with cars.
There's not. I've got worse stuff.
Oh, can't wait. All right, well, that's your history, detailed for once, and that is mine. Interesting to hear we both were a couple of 1-2 Joel heads at the start of this week. Well, I guess I'll ask you, Tim, has this ruined Billy Joel for you for life?
No, not all of his stuff, but I will never again think of this as a good song.
Well, that's for sure. Okay. I think I'm right there with you. I don't know that I'm going to want to hear other Billy Joel for a bit. But, that might change.
Hell, it might change next week.
Might change by the end of the episode. We might reverse get there this week. We may come to love B. Joel and his fire. But before we can make that decision, we need to do the heavy lifting. So, Tim, I ask you, take us on a journey. Help us understand, who is Billy Joel and how did he start this fire?
Well, William Martin Joel, a.k.a. Billiam Joel, a.k.a. the P-Man, was born in 1949 in the Bronx, although his parents then moved to Long Island and raised him in various hamlets or whatever they call it there. His dad was a classical pianist and engineer who escaped the Nazis through Switzerland and then Cuba and then finally to the U.S. It was a bit of a circuitous route due to the quota on German Jews that the U.S. had at the time to make sure they were properly vetted and that they were really fleeing tyranny and not some goddamn drain on our society because we've always been kinda awful.
Yeesh.
His parents met at a Gilbert and Sullivan performance, ironically the same way Garrett and I met in college, but then they got divorced when the P-Man, really just a P-boy at that time, was 8. His dad moved to Austria because, according to his father, he fucking hated Americans. His mom signed him up for piano lessons, which he hated. He boxed on the Golden Glove circuit. He ended up with 22-2 record, a broken nose, and then started playing at a piano bar at night. He ended up missing a high school English test after staying out too late and playing piano. He did not have enough credits to graduate high school, so he dropped out instead of going to summer school, later saying, "To hell with it. I'm not going to Columbia University. I'm going to Columbia Records. You don't need a high school diploma over there." pretty fucking cool so far.
So far, I am on the P-Boy's side. You know what? That doesn't feel right. Let's call him Piano Boy.
No. Well, maybe.
Better than P-Boy. Sounds like a thing. It sounds like your new nickname.
Ooh, I like that. Yes.
I mean, it is better than Piss Boy.
Jesus Christ.
Your old nickname.
Please stop. Please stop. I don't need emails addressed to Tim Pissboy Richardson.
Yeah, save yourself the hard work. Just cut straight to the piss boy of it. Dear Pissboy and Garrett, love the show. hatepodmail@gmail.com.
Decided to be a musician for reals after seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, saying that one performance changed his life, but it was mostly about how John Lennon looked. He said, I saw 4 guys who looked like they'd come out of the Hollywood star mill, who played their own songs and instruments, and especially because you could see this look in John Lennon's face, and he looked like he was always saying, fuck you. And I said, I know these guys. I can relate to these guys. I am these guys.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I love that the P-Man is the only guy who watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and went, why not me? If they can do it. You fucking savage.
Yeah, so he was in a band called Echoes. They did British invasion band covers starting at about 16 years old. And weirdly, he ended up playing on a demo version of the Shangri-La's Leader of the Pack, as well as some of their other songs. So, it all comes back around. Echoes then became Emeralds, then they became the Lost Souls, and then the P-Man left to join the Hassles in 1967. They released 4 complete failures of singles. Then the P-Man and the drummer of Hassles, John Small, started a new band called Attila, not the Attila we did. They released a self-titled album in 1970, but then the band broke up when the P-Man lived up to his name and fucked John Small's wife.
That's fantastic. I mean, terrible for Mr. Smalls. Tim, have you heard Attila?
Yeah, when Attila was first recommended, there was no context. They just recommended the band Attila, and so I listened to them both. And I'm pretty sure those people were recommending that terrible metalcore bullshit.
Yeah, the P-Man version, that Attila, pretty interesting, especially the music. There's at least one music video. Seek it out. It is hilarious. It's like prog rock, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Anyway, after he fucked his buddy's wife, he signed with Family Productions and released Cold Spring Harbor, which was met with a giant meh, but he did get to tour as the opening act for people like Badfinger, Taj Mahal, and the Beach Boys. Now, he was so depressed from this quote-unquote career decline, it doesn't make a lot of sense because he never had success to decline from, but that's how he described it. Anyway, he tried to kill himself by drinking furniture polish, but luckily, John Small, again, guy whose wife he fucked, got him to the hospital in time.
Now, I don't want to make any wild accusations, but if someone were a raging alcoholic that couldn't afford booze, they might drink furniture polish.
If somebody fucks your wife, you might replace their drink with furniture polish. Just saying.
This scotch has a weird, mountainy taste.
In 1972, he did eventually sign with Columbia Records and moved to LA, where he worked at the executive piano bar and wrote a song based on himself called P-Man, and eventually released the album P-Man in 1973. In 1974, he released Street Life Serenade, Turnstiles in 75. All of this is with rotating band members. People are coming in and coming out. He released The Stranger in 1977, and that became his first top 10 album and outsold Columbia Records' previously best-selling record, Bridge Over Troubled Water. That's weird, right? 1977, Columbia Records' best-selling album was Bridge Over Troubled Water, which is completely fair, but The Stranger shouldn't outsell that then.
Yeah, none of this adds up. It shouldn't have been that, and then it shouldn't have been beaten by this.
Fair enough. 52nd Street was his next album, released in 1979, and featured a song that would get covered as the theme song for Tom Hanks's Bosom Buddies. You like Bosom Buddies?
Oh, love Bosom Buddies.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari, maybe? I think is his name. No, it's definitely not. Maybe. There's a lot of them. No, I think it's Peter Scolari. Well, I can't remember what city it takes place. Let's say Manhattan. A busy metropolis where real estate is hard to come by and they want to move into a building, but it's women only. So they do what any two buddies would do. They decide to make up 2 artificial women, pose as them so they can get the lease, and then anytime they leave their house, dress as those women. Buffy and Hildegard, I believe, were their names.
Interesting. Garrett, I have an idea for what we could do in New York.
Watch Bosom Buddies?
Yes.
Excellent. Not be bosom buddies.
No. I mean, we can, but I don't want to.
Only when we watch it.
yeah, all right. 52nd Street would also become the very first album ever released on compact disc in 1982.
Wait, what?
When albums began being released on compact disc, the first one released, P-Man's 52nd Street.
That's weird.
The P-Man was also becoming upset that people were thinking of him as soft rock, despite undeniably being soft rock, and so he tried to change that image with Glass Houses in 1980, an attempt to be more hard rocky, I guess, to more or less success, probably less. He released The Nylon Curtain in 1982. That was mostly about how he was disillusioned by the 80s and Reagan already, and then decided to switch it up completely and do some doo-wop kind of stuff on An Innocent Man in 1983. So he's just all over the fucking place. That album notably featured Uptown Girl, a song about his current girlfriend, Ellie McPherson, and future wife, Christy Brinkley, after she taught him how to dance for the music video.
Did you call her Ellie?
Is it Elle?
Yeah.
Elle McPherson.
Yeah, Billy Joel's good at two things, playing the piano and luring very attractive, much younger women.
Yes. In 1986, he was on the site selection committee for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, at the time, the vote was tied 7-7. 7 votes for San Francisco, 7 votes for Cleveland. That's when the P-Man had to cast the deciding vote. So if you're ever wondering why the fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland, of all places, Billy Joel. Billy Joel did that.
Damn it, Billy Joel. That's strike 2.
He released a quadruple greatest hits album, despite the padding and filler that had to have gone on that. That was certified double diamond, and then the P-Man released The Bridge in 1986, toured the Soviet Union in an affront to decency at the tail end of the Cold War. He played a Jack Russell Terrier in the Disney film Oliver and Company, then released Stormfront, featuring the Song of the Week in 1989.
I'm picturing a live-action film with Billy Joel in a dog costume, smoking a cigarette with sunglasses on.
No, so you've seen the music video to this. We'll get to it. Billy Joel does not dress up for his roles.
Yeah,
he
okay,
just was Billy Joel the whole time, and everyone just acted as if he was a Jack Russell Terrier.
Believable.
Yes. Stormfront, again released in 1989, was immediately followed by the P-Man firing his previous brother-in-law / manager and suing him for $90 million for fraud and theft and whatnot, although I think he only got about $2 million out of that deal.
Yeesh.
1993, he released River of Dreams, featuring a bad painting by his current wife, Christy Brinkley, on the cover. He also sued his lawyer then for $90 million in what seems to be becoming a very specific trend, but ended up settling out of court for an undisclosed sum.
It's going to cost me how much to file another lawsuit? Fuck you, I got a Kinko's and some whiteout. 90 million, change this name. All right, fire this off, asshole. $90 an hour. Go fuck yourself.
He toured in 1994 with Elton John, where they both played their own songs and some of each other's songs, and then they duetted. And then he got divorced from Christy Brinkley. He released another greatest hits album in 97. He played Madison Square Garden on December 31st, 1999, in what he said would be his last concert, possibly due to his fear that electricity would cease to exist following Y2K.
Right.
Since then, he has released a single album of classical piano compositions in 2001 called Fantasies and Delusions that was mostly performed by a guy named Richard Jew. I don't know how that counts as one of his albums, but whatever.
You said it composition, so like, is it just in the style of classical music, but he wrote the music?
I think so, but again, this other guy performed all of it. Anyway,
well, sure,
it doesn't
but
matter.
It's a piano.
He toured pretty extensively. He sang the national anthem for the Super Bowl twice. He did a bunch of 9/11 and Iraq-related stuff. He did the final concerts at Chase Stadium prior to its demolition. He opened a shop in Oyster Bay, Long Island to make custom motorcycles. He got remarried at 55, this time to chef Katie Lee, who was 23 at the time. I'm sure they had a lot to talk about. He did some time in rehab for alcohol abuse. He sarcastically and kind of accidentally dedicated a song to Republican candidate Donald Trump, and then had to clarify that he was being sarcastic and wasn't actually endorsing Donald Trump. And then, Garrett, in 2017, he finally did it. he graduated from high school.
What a vanity move.
Yeah, he had 7 honorary doctorates from before then. I don't know why he bothered. Also, he was honored with the America's Greatest Governor, Andrew Cuomo, proclaiming July 18th to be Billy Joel Day in New York State to honor his 100th performance at Madison Square Garden. So this is something we need to remember, Garrett. July 18th, when we're in the East Coast offices, we need to not look stupid by not knowing a local holiday, is my point.
Well, sure. No, I've been taking a lot of courses on how to be a convincing East Coaster. I've got a lot of East Coast elitism going for me. I'm sort of elitist to begin with, so that was helpful. Different definitions than them, but that's okay. I can pretend, but I've been learning some common phrases like coffee. It's not coffee. Yeah.
I'll be honest, Lecostier sounds a lot like the leader of some sort of secret society at Yale, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, minus all that Yale stuff.
Well, sure. We'll have it at a reputable university.
Oh, I meant the closeted homosexuality and cocaine abuse, but sure, your thing too.
We're gonna be doing Raid later, Garrett. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's called Raid, and the kids are doing it. It's BCB.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So all I have left to say is the face.
Fantastic. Excellent dismount with the LaFace. Timmy, that brings us up to date. I'm curious. We already have tipped our hat. We don't much care for the song, but Billy Joel, just on a talent level, wildly talented guy, right?
Absolutely.
We'll use Piano Man. That'll be my example. I like that song. I can listen to him sing that song and enjoy his singing. Regardless of the content of this song that we're going to talk about today, We Didn't Start the Fire, and regardless of the music, his singing on this is garbage.
Yeah, he does not care.
Yeah, it's somewhere between Smash Mouth and Cake. Like they're kind of singing, but not quite.
So my kind of go-to for what this sounds like, and we should listen to some of this in a second, but...
You're right. Let's get it. Yeah, let's get a taste. Play it, Gino.
Okay. And now, Garrett, before we move on, let's get a taste of that Apologetics parody version, We Didn't Start Messiah. We didn't start Messiah, yet we're always yearning for the Lord's returning. We didn't start Messiah, though the Israelites already prophesied.
That one's good.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That I will listen to.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Jesus was prophesied, guys. We didn't make this shit up. Anyway, back to Billy Joel's voice from a while ago. I think what happened here, because he's a well-known drinker, and this feels like he had been on a weekend bender. He had not been sober for 48 to 72 hours. He's got his sunglasses on. They have to turn all the studio lights almost completely off, and he's still wearing sunglasses like some sort of Garrett. And he'd been listening to a lot of REM and Subterranean Homesick Blues recently, and he's just like, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that real fucking hungover.
Yeah. Also, I've got these Encyclopedia Britannicas here.
Yeah.
Well, that I will be referencing.
Sure. So musically, it's very new wavy. Is that a good description?
Ooh. I mean, yes. Boy, I never would have said that, but when forced to classify it, I mean, that was my first question. What kind of music is this? It is new wavy, but again, it's Billy Joel, so like, the fuck is this?
Yeah, but it's not like, because usually Billy Joel's music stands out for the Billy Joel of it all.
Yeah, the instrumentation fits the man. Here, the music and the man make no sense.
Yes, but it is distinctly like he has Billy Joel'd a genre in that the genre doesn't really sound like what you'd expect it to, but it's still sort of recognizable as what it is.
He Billy Joel'd it up. It's like, what's his face? Danger Mouse, what he does to people when he produces their album.
The second Danger time Mouse he produces them. First time it's great.
I forgot. Yeah, you're right. Very good point.
Do you remember, hold on, while we're on the Danger Mouse thing, very early on in this show's conception, we had a plan to do like an 8-week run of things Danger Mouse had ruined. And I think the only one we did with that was Portugal the Man.
Yeah.
But there's others. Black Keys and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's not good.
Back a little.
Yeah, kind of back a little. Anyway, back to this song.
Sure. Back to this song. Okay, so let's talk about the music. You were saying new wave-ish, and that's appropriate because it is, I'll assume it's a drum, but then it is just this crazy, psychosis-inducing synth. If you remove Billy Joel from the song, and I'm sure it's out there, I didn't listen because I think it truly will Event Horizon style drive you crazy if you listen to it. But if you were to listen to this song minus the Joel and just hear the constant do 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 do, it's just that over and over with a that's how you create a Manchurian Candidate.
That's the thing. What you do is you keep the music and then you replace Billy Joel with whatever you want that person to do. Why don't you kill a
Jodie Foster wants to tell you, you gotta kill that Reagan if you want a body. Kill Reagan. Wasn't that the deal, or was that, yeah, right?
The most upsetting part of that whole thing is that, listen, it's completely reasonable to murder somebody to attract Jodie Foster. It's not reasonable to kill somebody to attract Jodie Foster if the only movie you've seen of hers is Taxi Driver. That's gross.
Yeah, that's a real creep. Real creep. Now, if the only movie you've seen is Contact, that's sweet.
Yeah. Listen, she's a lovely lady.
Absolutely. We're big Foster fans here. I actually hate Contact, to be real clear, if we're on the record.
The movie, but not her performance in it.
Absolutely not. Her and Jake Busey steal every scene.
Matthew McConaughey's not bad either.
Boy, you know what? I might love Contact. No, I hate it. I remember going into that movie thinking it was going to be about time travel and aliens. It's not.
Yes.
I mean, it is, but it's talking about it. It's not showing you. That's
right.
for
It
fucking
is
sure.
by far the worst thing Carl Sagan ever did. Everything else, great. That man could wear a turtleneck like nobody's business.
Fuck yeah, he could. Okay.
And he wasn't afraid of the color maroon.
Oh, Timmy bathed in it. Bathed in maroon.
Yes.
Lousy in maroon turtlenecks, or as you call them, turtnecks. So we've talked about the music, we've talked about the man, the voice, the sound. Let's get into the content. We're going to really break it down here in a minute. But before we do, Tim, I was curious when I was trying to answer the question of like, how is this pop music? Because we're going to get into how well it did, and it did all right. But I went and looked up, hadn't done this in a bit, what were the top 15 songs of 1990? You'll be shocked to hear Billy Joel not on the list, but when I tell you the top 15, it's just going to blow your mind. Escapade, Janet Jackson. Opposites Attract, Paula Abdul. Pump Up the Jam, Technotronic. How Am I Supposed to Live Without You? Michael Bolton. Ooh. Do Me, Belle Biv DeVoe. No Blaze of Glory, John Bon Jovi. Cradle of Love, Billy Idol. Hold On, En Vogue, Another Day in Paradise, Phil Collins, Mariah Carey's Vision of Love, never heard of it, Madonna's Vogue, Belle Biv DeVoe, second song for the year, Poison, my favorite Belle Biv DeVoe song, It Must Have Been Love by Roxette, and Hold On by Wilson Phillips. What was 89 and 90?
This song makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you.
It really does fit in there. Fits in beautifully, but it's just like, what? I think it was 36 or 29 or some shit. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because this thing did all right.
It did. It did. Did you look up why this song came to be?
I did. Something about Sean Lennon's buddy talking about how terrible it is to be a youth.
Yeah, it's real name droppy. So Billy Joel turned 40 and he was having a conversation that he really wants you to know was with a friend of Sean Lennon. I don't know why that's important. He was having a conversation with a guy that's not famous.
Yeah, and younger.
That's right. Important. So the guy had just turned 21 and he was talking about how crazy it was to live in like the 80s and how crazy the 80s were and how no other time in history was that weird to live in. And so Billy Joel essentially said, we had like Vietnam and, drugs and this civil rights and all this sort of shit. And the guy said, everyone knows that nothing happened in the 50s. And so he's like, the Korean War, the Suez Canal crisis, what the fuck are you talking about? And so he was just like, well, I got to make a song to show this child what's what.
Shouted to his Gino to get his Encyclopedia Britannicas.
Exactly. So he said, interestingly, basically he wrote down things that happened every year from 1949 when he was born through 1989. And he said, it's one of the few times I've written the lyrics first, which should be obvious to why I usually prefer to write the music first, because the melody is horrendous. It's like a mosquito droning. It's one of the worst melodies I've ever written. I kind of like the lyric, though. Here's the problem with that. Lyrics also suck.
Well, they're not lyrics. Spoiler alert, he just lists stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the original sins of Why I Hate This Album podcast. It's just a fucking list. You have nothing to say, and so you just start listing things.
If you wanted to give him credit, you'd have to say this is the best rap song Billy Joel ever made.
Sure, but...
Well, because they're in rhyming couplets mostly. And he's just speaking. I mean, he's joling. That's probably the best way to say it. He's be-joling.
I really think he's trying to do a Subterranean Homesick Blues. And he's just so hungover.
He's also so Billy Joel, man.
That's true. Yeah, that's the thing Billy Joel can never get away from. He's fucking Billy Joel.
Yeah.
He's the P-Man.
Wake up. You can drink as much as you want, Billy. You're still going to wake up every day being Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty cool. Weirdly.
So this is weird. This is the first song this has ever happened for. Every single word of this song has its own genius annotation. It's almost unbearable. Literally every single one of the references he makes, which I think there's 118 people, places, concepts, countries, things, whatever. Every one of them has a genius annotation trying to explain, and a lot of times it's trying to explain what a genius annotator, one of those guys thinks he means, and so it's not at all the case, but whatever. The problem with this song overall, lyrically, it's so goddamn lazy.
Well, I think it's probably pretty time-consuming.
I'm just saying, so he's listed a bunch of things, 118 things, in semi-chronological order.
Mostly. It's like 95% chronological.
It's in chronological order unless it's inconvenient to the song.
Well, sure.
But there's no context. It's just things in history that sound good in a song together.
Well, yeah.
He may as well not know what any of these things are. It's like he just got his kid's history textbook and just looked through the index for words from the 20th century that rhyme and then just jammed them all together.
He just took all the chapter titles.
Exactly. Yes. At one point, the lyrics are Eisenhower vaccine. The fuck is that supposed to mean?
Well, they're not related.
Well, I know they're not related. That's the point. It's just a bunch of dumb shit jammed. It's catchy, but it's just a bunch of random shit jammed together.
Put slightly differently, when you sit down and you do the analysis like we do, we really cram it in our ear holes. None of this is on balance. So you're going to have references to assassination and the Cola Wars in the same stanza. So you're just right. So it just makes it very clear that he was like, that happened this year, that happened this year. Fantastic. So the song opens with a ridiculous amount of drums. Then you hear the synth, and of course there's a cheering crowd for some reason, never addressed. And he speaks, Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific, Walter Winchell, Joe DiMaggio. Here's your first couplet. Things that I thought were kind of interesting. I didn't know who Johnny Ray was. Did you know who Johnny Ray was?
No.
He apparently was a partially deaf singer who signed a recording contract in 1949. He actually had hits. They were called Cry, The Little White Cloud That Cried, and Walking in the Rain. And Ray would cry while performing these songs, giving him the nickname Mr. Emotion, a.k.a. the Nabob of Sob and the Prince of Wales.
Now, he is, of course, the godfather of emo.
Right. Things were less subtle then, guys, so you had to really legitimately cry to convey it.
Right.
Let's see. Anything else in there? You've got Jolt and Joe DiMaggio, of course. Walter Winchell, the only thing I learned about him that I didn't know off the top of my head was how much he loved Joe McCarthy. More on that guy in a second.
Well, yeah, he was one of the original propagandists for him. Is that right?
Yeah, he was kind of sensationalist media before that was really a thing.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Good job.
Song continues. Joe McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe. Now, right off the bat, Tim, there is some balance here. Marilyn Monroe, of course, ex-wife of previous stanza ender Joe DiMaggio.
Yes.
Joe McCarthy, of course, Richard Nixon. When you hear 1950 and you're like, that's right, he was fucking VP in 50. You forget just how long that dude was around. Song continues. Rosenberg's H-Bomb, Sugar Ray, Panmunjom, Brando, The King and I, and The Catcher in the Rye. I didn't know what Panmunjom was. Village on the North Korea-South Korean border. H-Bomb. Apparently we announced the H-Bomb in 50, and then we didn't even have one till 52. I didn't know
Smart.
that.
The Soviets got the atomic bomb in 49, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
This is not our best episode.
No, it really isn't. Let's keep moving, maybe twice as fast. Song continues. Eisenhower, vaccine. England's got a new queen. Marciano Liberace, Santayana, goodbye. Only thing I wanted to point out, Tim, was reading about Eisenhower, which led me to Adelaide Stevenson, who, of course, Eisenhower beat the shit out of in 52, 442 to 89 in the presidential run. So then they run him again in 56. That I did not realize. They're like, well, that was a historic ass kicking. Let's do it again. Does it again, loses even worse, 457 to 73. Then he goes for the hat trick, but loses the nomination to Kennedy. Kennedy feels bad, makes him ambassador to the UN, just as he becomes the guy that has to explain the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis. I put it to you, Adelaide Stevenson was just shit on by our country the entire time for just trying to help.
It's possible that he had some sort of monkey paw and he wished to be influential in American
politics.
Wished to be influential on the national or international stage and just buck.
Okie dokie, you'll be around. You'll be the loser. Enjoy. God, could you imagine the day after the Bay of Pigs at the UN? Just like, it's not what it looks like. That brings us to the chorus, Tim. I've been reading. Hit us with the chorus.
We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Who's we?
Boomers.
Boomers. Okay, so he kind of absolves boomers and basically the entire generation of any responsibility for history.
It's sensationalism. We didn't start this fire. In fact, we tried to stop it, but you guys are real assholes. So don't look at us.
Which is obvious horseshit, but he paints his entire generation as just Forrest Gumping their way through events that just kind of happened to him.
Yeah, the difference is in Forrest Gump, the people around Forrest tend to prosper or just, we don't have to deal with them anymore because the movie continues. In the real world, that generation kind of actually, they're the gift that keeps on giving. These are the same folks that have evolved into the Fox News generation and enabled all the cool things that we've got going on these days.
Yes.
That's all right. Someday Lacoste will rise to power and solve all of these problems.
Anyway, so the song continues. Joseph Stalin, Malenkov, Nasser, and you know what? I'm not sure why I'm reading these names.
I love that you got this one. Prokofiev. Joseph Stalin, Malenkov, Nasser, and Prokofiev.
Rockefeller, Campanella, Communist Bloc, Roy Cohn. I'm going to stop on Roy Cohn.
There's no reason to. They're talking about the evolution of the Soviet Union and their leadership, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But yes, Roy Cohn, Juan Perón, Toscanini, Dacron. That little stanza. Roy Cohn was basically the henchman for Joseph McCarthy. And two things stand out about Roy Cohn. And all of my Roy Cohn knowledge comes from the not hit James Woods film Citizen Cohn, where he plays the titular Cohn. But Mr. Cohn was a...
Hold on. Given what James Woods' politics turned out to be, is it a very favorable take on the man?
It's accurate, played by a very suiting actor. He is a closeted homosexual during the McCarthy communist hearings, and he is both actively outing other closeted homosexuals in the entertainment business, as well as threatening to do so in exchange for communist information.
As one does.
Yeah, from time to time going undercover at various, bathhouses, etc., to gather intel. Allegedly. Cool. I mean, he's long dead, but still. I believe Roy Cohn went on to possibly be the personal lawyer of Donald Trump, or at least a good, close personal friend, until it was revealed that Cohn had HIV and was dying, and Trump immediately walked away from him and left him dying alone. So, Roy Cohn kind of got a little bit of what he deserved, and, that wheel just keeps on spinning. There's a whole lot of terrible people in the world. Anyway, song continues. Oh, Dacron, by the way, it's a plastics-based fabric. That's the other half of that stanza. Song continues. Dien Bien Phu, Falls, Rock Around the Clock, the Bill Haley song, great. Einstein, James Dean, Brooklyn's Got a Winning Team, that's the Dodgers. Davy Crockett, Peter Pan, Elvis Presley, Disneyland. Tim, have you ever seen the ABC aired miniseries Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier?
Yes. Had it on VHS.
Yeah, I did too. Well, I had it on VHS, but mine was off of the Disney Channel.
He was like a cowboy of the Southeast, you know?
God damn it. Southeast?
Yeah, well, you think cowboys, obviously they tamed, if you will, the American West. He was like a cowboy, but like east of the Mississippi.
South. Well, wasn't he in Texas? Didn't he help defend the Alamo?
He ended up there, but he's from Tennessee, Garrett.
Oh, you're right. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. I don't know if that's actually a song. I think it is.
I think it's a song from that movie.
Presumably. I hope it is. Otherwise, call me Disney. Okay. Song continues. Bardo, Budapest, Alabama, Khrushchev. Princess Grace, Peyton Place, Trouble in the Suez. Anything in there, Tim, you want to talk about?
No.
Fantastic. Little Rock, Pasternak, Mickey Mantle, Kerouac. Sputnik, Zhou Enlai, Spy, Bridge on the River Kwai. Okay, Sputnik for satellite. Oh, Tim, I did find this cute. So after Sputnik launches, Russia gets the first satellite into orbit around the Earth. The United States responds by making two organizations, the first of which won't be a shock, NASA. Do you know what the other organization established in response to Sputnik?
NSA.
No. AP, Advanced Placement courses in school were established to help make smarter children.
Oh, that didn't pan out.
No.
It did until like 97.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Anyway, I thought that was adorable. I got to take AP Bio because of the Russians.
Yeah.
Lebanon, Charles de Gaulle, California baseball. That's about those Dodgers from earlier moving over to California. Here's the one that's a real page-turner. And I should mention, much like a child making a sign, he starts very detailed, 49, 50, 51, 52, maybe a couple of examples per year. But as we start to get into 60, late 60s, 70s, we start jumping 4 or 5 years at a time. Let's try to call it out, but we're still in probably 58 maybe. Yeah, he says, Starkweather homicide, children of thalidomide. That's a fun one, eh? I had forgotten about the Starkweather homicide. Were you familiar, Tim?
I was, yeah. In Nebraska?
Yeah, and Wyoming. Let's see, what's this dude? Charles Starkweather and his 14-year-old girlfriend, Carol Ann Fugate, went on a killing spree, murdering 11 people between January 21st and 29th, the date of his arrest, across Wyoming and Nebraska.
It's kind of shocking that he got caught in 1958.
Isn't it? I think it was so brazen.
Yeah, well, it would have to be. But I feel like that's partially what the Natural Born Killers was inspired by.
It was exactly what it was inspired by. Song continues, Buddy Holly, Ben-Hur, Space Monkey Mafia. Ooh, fun note on that Space Monkey, Tim. I don't know if it's Abel or Miss Baker. They were two of them, the first ones to return to Earth. They taxidermied one of them in his little spacesuit, and you can see him at the Smithsonian. It's creepy as shit.
I don't want to see that. I like that you skipped over Children of Thalidomide, and I think that was the right move.
Yeah, nothing I had to say about that needed to be said. So, now we're in 1959. Hula Hoops, Castro, Edsel is a no-go. That's, of course, the Ford Edsel nobody wanted. U2, Syngman Rhee, Payola, and Kennedy.
He does kind of do that, doesn't he?
I think it's Syngman Rhee, Payola, and Kennedy, but I just want to see if you're listening. Chubby Checker, Psycho, Belgians in the Congo. Tim, 1960, Congo gains its independence from Belgium, and then they never had another problem again.
That's true. Also, as far as I knew, the Belgians got their morals together much longer ago than 1960.
No comment. Then there's a chorus, and folks, in case you're wondering how much more of this song is there, we're like halfway through. It's so
we gotta
long.
Speed up. This is terrible.
Yeah. All right, double speed. Hemingway, Eichmann, Stranger in a Strange Land. That was finding Eichmann in Argentina. Good job, Mossad. Hyland's novel comes out. Dylan Berlin, Bay of Pigs Invasion. Lawrence of Arabia, British Beatlemania. 62 isn't really British Beatlemania, but sure. Old Miss, John Glenn, Liston Beats Patterson. Pope Paul, Malcolm X, British Politician Sex. I didn't know about that one. Did you know about that one?
No idea.
The Secretary of State for War in the UK, a guy named John Profumo, lied to Parliament about a several-week affair he had with a showgirl named Christine Keeler. Not that big a deal, except for the fact that Christine Keeler was also fucking a Soviet spy. So there's Secret Service figured that out, or whatever they call it. Bond. James Bond figured that shit out and was like, we might have to kill this guy. James, is that man dead? He was like that when I came in.
It's a shame Disney doesn't own the Bond franchise, because I think a very fun Bond movie well, a really fun Marvel movie, I guess I should say, is if you did like the second or maybe even the third Iron Man movie, and the end of that movie is Bond shooting him in the face and be like, we can't have this. This guy's clearly a Bond villain.
I know how this ends.
Nothing good comes from a shield around the world, you fucking psychopath. You die now.
Unless you're in an episode of Futurama, shut up. Song continues. JFK blown away. What else do I have to say?
That is the most cavalier way I've ever heard anybody mention that. JFK blown away. What else do I have to say? Cool, man. Cool.
You savages.
And at this point, we're skipping from 1965 to 68 to 72.
Yeah, 63, 65, 68, 69, 72, 74. Yeah, 69, 72, and 74 all in the same stanza.
Yeah, at some point, this trope got really boring.
Yeah, he's like, I should not have made this 5 verses. Song continues. Birth control, Ho Chi Minh, Richard Nixon back again, Moonshot, Woodstock, Watergate, punk rock. Begin, Reagan, Palestine, terror on the airline. And that's worth a pause, Tim, because I did some number crunching. And between the years of 1968 and 1972, how many airplanes do you think were hijacked in America?
214.
That's too high. That's way too high. What's wrong with you?
Is it?
130.
Well, that's still pretty goddamn high.
Yeah, but you kind of stole my thunder. Yeah, 130 in 4 years is too many. Straight up hijacked.
Right.
So much so, they built a fake Cuban airport to take hijacked planes to, which is genius. And they would, touch down and be like, you're free. Welcome to Cuba. Don't worry about why it took 2 hours. You're in Nashville. You're arrested. I don't actually know where it was, but that's genius.
I mean, it had to be on some sort of island because I feel like you can look out the window and be like, we have not left the continental United States. I'm going to start shooting people. But that was also what enabled D.B. Cooper. That wasn't a big thing. That's a thing that happens sometimes.
Yeah, nobody freak out about it.
Yeah, you can smoke on airlines. You can bring your revolver. Ooh, speaking of, just today, the day we were recording this, our good buddy, friend of the show, Madison Cawthorn, he was ticketed for the second time because he showed up to the Charlotte, North Carolina airport with a loaded handgun in his luggage that he just handed over to TSA to scan. Apparently, that's
a guy who's definitely trying to bring a gun onto an airplane.
Yes. First time is a mistake. Maybe.
Yeah. After 2, isn't there a no-fly list that used to inconvenience a lot of my friends with complicated names?
So if you don't get it through, I don't know if it's a felony.
It's the only crime that's less if you don't accomplish it. I guess attempted murder and murder are different. Boy, that's interesting. If you were going to give somebody life in prison for murder and then a lesser sentence for attempted murder, why are you giving them time off for failure? Their intent was still to kill you. They just happened to be unsuccessful.
No.
Not for everything, but
well, I think the idea is that you get 15 years for trying and 15 years for completing the act kind of thing.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say this. Somebody tries to kill me and they get 15 years, you better hope you commit some sort of other crime in there. Because I'm going to be waiting.
Maybe in that police lineup, you say, I can't identify the guy. And then,
I see.
You
call up my old buddy Shotgun Batman.
I was going to say Bernie Getz, but yeah.
Oh, Jesus, no. Don't bring him up, but of course we're about to. Song continues. Ayatollahs in Iran, Russians in Afghanistan. Remember when we used to laugh at them doing that? Wheel of Fortune, Sally Ride, heavy metal, suicide, foreign debts, homeless vets, AIDS, crack, Bernie Getz, Tim's best bud and inspiration.
No, none of my activities have ever been based on race.
That's true. You do not see race.
Right.
Almost to your detriment sometimes.
And Bernhard Getz, he was, of course, the guy that shot 4 black men on a subway, claiming that they were trying to mug him, but they were probably just panhandling. But they were black. Rudolph Giuliani cleared this all up by saying it was based on fear, not race, and then Bernie cleared that up by saying his fear was based on the fact that they were black. He would later run for mayor of New York City, and then Joaquin Phoenix would pretend to be a clown version of him.
Yeah, kinda. Well put, Tim. Song wraps up with hypodermics on the shore, China's under martial law, rock and roller cola wars, I can't take it anymore, chorus 4 times in a row.
Yeah, so for the obscene number of verses, let's see, how many verses are there?
I believe 5.
There's 5 verses. There's, I believe, 8 chori.
Yes, at
Cut
least.
this shit down. So Leonard Cohen with Hallelujah, there's like 85 verses to that. And then, he trimmed it down to a song length. Maybe do that.
Yeah, let's get this down to 3 tight verses, 2 choruses, and an outro. And we could all maybe not hate this song, but God, I do. That brings us to the music video, Tim, and we can move through this so fast. It's really disappointing.
It is, because it's the style of the decades that he's talking about. Mm-hmm. So the video begins, a newly married couple enters their like 1940s style or 50s style, like a picture I Love Lucy, right?
Exactly, because she looks like Lucille Ball. Classic
Yes.
Nuclear family. Important detail, they're clearly on a soundstage.
Absolutely. And essentially the music video, like just 30,000 foot view here, it goes through, so she gets pregnant, has a kid, and it kind of goes through the decades. So the kid becomes a hippie. First, there's some 50s stuff. There's some benzodiazepines. She hates her daughter's shitty violin playing. There's pot. There's bra burning. There's draft card burning. There's tie-dye. There's a terrifying child in a Nixon mask. Otherwise, pretty spot-on cowboy outfit. But throughout this entire thing,
apparition?
Yes, Garrett. A specter
looms over
never,
this family.
Yes, he never ages. He just hangs out in the kitchen in fucking sunglasses, dressed all in black. He kind of reminded me of Richard Lewis on
Anything?
Curb Your Enthusiasm, but just sort of hanging out and kind of scowling at them. Terrifying. They just don't seem to be able to see him. He just hangs out there like some sort of specter, some sort of a real cup of coffee, if you will. Yeah,
reminded me of a certain somebody we have creepily staring at you, well, the back of your head right now. Anyway, yeah. Good to, if those of you have written in to ask us, yes, Chief's still here. AKA the cup of coffee, so that we don't offend him or possibly incur some sort of Michael Myers-like wrath. He just stares. Anyway.
Actually, you know what? Don't know if I should bring this up or not. I saw Tom Rady and our cup of coffee were in a screaming match with one another the other day. Not in the same language. Tom...
Maybe, was either language English?
Tom's was, yes.
Did you get the gist of the argument?
No. It was just kind of when I was walking in, and well, at some point they both just started screeching like an eagle.
Okay, fantastic.
It was weird.
Fair enough. All right. Well, pretty much a top to bottom synopsis there, Tim. I don't know that we really need to go into any more detail other than to say why this. Why not get a bunch of historical footage of the 118 things you talk about and just cut through those?
Well, they kind of do that because intercut with this is...
Oh, right.
Is
photos
him
burning.
Yes, exactly. And it's occasional like Ho Chi Minh stuff in the background, but it's only like at most 7 of these 118 scenes is in the background. They could have literally just flashed between black and white shots of all of this stuff, and it actually might have given meaning to this song. Like that might have been what gives it the context and the point of view on all of this, you know?
The weight of it, if you will.
Yeah, and they just chose not to.
No, instead they get Billy Joel looking awesome as he watches a family age. That brings us to a very important question, Tim. How did this thing do?
Well, this was the P-Man's third #1 single in the US. It hit #2 in Australia, #7 in Austria, #6 on the Belgian Ultra Top 50 Flanders, #2 in Canada, #4 in Germany, #3 in Ireland, #11 in Japan, #5 in New Zealand, #3 on the Swiss Schweizer Hit Parade, and of course, #11 in the Dutch. It is the 354th best-selling song of all time, according to Billboard. It has sold at least 1 million copies in the US alone. Over his career, though, Garrett, the P-Man has won 5 Grammys. He has had 4 Billboard 200 #1 albums. He has sold 160 million albums worldwide. He is the 23rd best-selling artist of all time. He's like the 3rd best-selling solo artist in the US. He's doing all right.
That's incredible. So I don't know how the hell he ever introduces himself other than I'm Billy fucking Joel. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Just shows you what you can do when you got a whole bunch of money. I was going to say you don't hear about Billy Joel that much, but he does tend to marry super young women and occasionally crash a car too. So, but still, if I had that kind of money, you'd hear stories.
Yeah, well, now he's got the amount of money that if he fucks your wife, you don't pour a bunch of furniture polish down his throat and then take him to the hospital to allay any suspicion from you.
No, you just get a duffel bag full of money and maybe a muffin basket. You get an autographed copy of this song. You're welcome. Love BJ. That's how it did, Tim. What did people think of it?
Well, Garrett, this week I just went straight to the YouTube comments.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't, but okay.
Hyena said, "This song shows how every generation thinks the world is on fire and going to shit. This is without realization of the other generations that have gone through just the same. Definitely a relevant song in pessimistic 2018.
I wrestled with even addressing this, Tim. I feel like we have entered a fresh new kind of hell. But maybe BJ would disagree and say that, we're just living in that fire that was started long ago that he tried to put out but couldn't. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think that he probably would say that, there's always been the specter of nuclear war. It's fine. It's not fine. It's the Steven Pinker excuse of the world's constantly becoming a better place. Less people are being murdered by rocks. Okay.
But I would argue more people are being murdered by robots that shoot fire from the sky.
Exactly.
Which is not ideal.
Yes. Christopher Freeman said, "God told us how the world would continue to be till he consumes the wicked humans with fire off the face of the earth and Lord Yeshua returns."
Oh my goodness.
Now,
what an excellent Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire comment.
Right. That is a guy that knows about the great ekpyrosis that's coming.
Yeah, you and that guy could have a long talk.
That's ekpyrotic.
Did you sneeze? What was that?
Oh, no, I just got super excited because I thought of the word ekpyrotic.
Okay. I thought you had a stroke.
No.
God damn it.
Juan Pedro Arevalo. The 80s. Such awesome music was in those times. This song of Billy Joel reminded me when our parents met each other for the first time and started to go out together as a couple, being college students, before I and my sister were born. That was many years ago. Today I'm 23 already, but the moment of listening to timeless pieces like this is as if all those moments would have been yesterday. And that is a fella who spent way too much time imagining his parents having sex, possibly with Billy Joel.
What are you thinking about? My parents conceiving me. Okie dokie. I'll just find a different spot on this here bus.
Mark Peterson said, "Great song. I played this on the radio back in 1989 when I was working Top 40. I wish there was an addition to this hit that covered the last 33 years and bring us up to date. Maybe I could write it and submit it to Billy Joel. Maybe something about Russians in the Ukraine." I love that Russians in the Ukraine, like, he's just like, I'll just pick a single thing from the news. That's fine. That's the same. Doesn't matter.
Yep, that's exactly the same. Also, nobody else would ever think of that.
Yeah, I love the idea that, like, okay, we're going to write a second. Well, Billy Joel's not going to write it. He's going to farm it out to somebody, probably this guy on YouTube.
Yeah, probably a complete stranger that he finds in the comment sections of a pirated copy of We Didn't Start the Fire on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent reviews, Tim. That's how it did. That's what people think of it. Tim, who's this single for?
This is for the children of people born in the 50s to listen to on road trips in the 90s while trying not to go insane as you drive through Nebraska.
Yeah, I completely agree. That brings us to final thoughts. Is there anything we haven't said about this before we ask the big question? Okay,
this is going to sound crazy. What if we wrote a sequel and submitted it to Billy Joel? Maybe, hold on. I think this is going to clinch it. Maybe something about Russians in the Ukraine?
Ooh, topical.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's, I feel bad for those people. Anyway, Tim, do you hate this song?
Yeah, this can go fuck itself. I do not like this song. What about you, friend? Did you reverse get there, or do you still hate this song?
Firmly in the hate column.
Excellent.
Let's keep
going.
That brings us to listener mail. Tim, do you want to go first or should I?
Well, Garrett, I would like to go first because I have something of a compliment for you.
No, I know what this is going to be. Go ahead.
This is from Michael. And Michael says, so I searched Apple Podcasts for Townes Van Zandt and am currently about 80% of the way through. I cannot believe how in-depth this is. I am completely amazed on how much information you amassed on my current favorite singer. So good. I'm really grateful for this. Thank you so much. You are heroes and have a new subscriber now. Now, that's a very nice compliment to Garrett for 2 episodes that were, I'm sure, very hard work. I don't know. I did not help in any way, nor have I listened to them. Here's the thing. That guy is going to absolutely hate.
I feel so bad for this dude.
Everything
Michael,
else.
if you're listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for the kind words, and I apologize for everything else you've tried to listen to.
Yeah, I hope we got a 5-star review in before you listen to a single other episode.
Yeah, guys, if you liked one episode, that's enough for 5 stars, and if you don't like a single other one, that's okay. Download it anyway, then delete it. Don't ever listen. It's not asking for much. Gave you a couple hours of entertainment. That's worth 5 stars and a weekly download. Costs you nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe grab your mom's phone. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No. What this should be like that shitty U2 album that people have no idea why it's on their phone. It just shows up there one day. So if you come across a friend or a loved one's phone or an enemy's phone, just secretly subscribe to this and just let these episodes pile up on their phone. Yeah, we get credit for it either way. Don't give a shit.
Yeah, that'd be great. And just, if anybody asks, just say, it's an Apple thing. It just does it automatically. That's like the default one. But then check the phone later, and if they've deleted it, do it again.
Yeah.
Eventually, they'll just give up. Great email, Tim. I suppose I'll go next. My email is from Finn. Do you know who Finn is, Tim?
Oh, I do know who Finn is. Finn is the guy whose name on YouTube is Dashorejun95. I believe that I got it right that time.
Pretty close. Sure. Yeah, you should stop. Now, Tim, before I even... Actually, we'll read the email first. Finn writes, "My dearest Scooter and the Beef," trademark. Love it. Immediately I'm in. That's as far as I read. Don't know what the rest of this says. Hi, it's me again, Finn, the guy who alerted you to the existence of the SCP. Oh no, the SCP Foundation. I'm still not sure about how that's going on your end, but I can tell you they're still on it. Who they are remains unclear. Continuing on, Finn writes, anyway, in light of the recent part 2 of the TLC episode, which it might not be by the time you guys get this, I know you take a while. Fuck you. I have to ask, what did Tim do to be in timeout? Knowing Tim, it's probably either just below slapworthy or just above slapworthy, and you've already slapped him. I believe I walked into the kitchen and you were eating dry toast, which is what an insane man does.
Well, I don't want to wet my toast. What are you talking about?
No butter, no jam, not even Nutella, nothing on it. Dry toasted bread is crazy. You're eating croutons with no seasoning.
That's fair.
Yeah, don't let it happen again. I believe that's why. It's tough to know exactly. That was a couple weeks ago. Tim is often on a timeout. That's where no one in the world headquarters is allowed to look at or speak to him or acknowledge him when he speaks to them. It's as though he is a ghost.
Is that how the cup of coffee... Okay.
He is not in a timeout. He is definitely haunting us. Or he is a transient that has figured out a way to walk through walls. Or at least give the appearance. I've seen a lot of Scooby-Doos. It's not that hard. Tim, go look for a projector. Continuing on, Finn says, it probably relates to Cowboys or the Nebraska thing, if I remember that exchange correctly. Or maybe Tom, and he puts in parentheses, B, Rady. It's Tom Rady, you idiot. Tom Rady, or God forbid, the Chief. Wow. Oh, wow. He's even up to date on the Chief. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Have been waiting on the Blurry Face episode for 4 years now. Unless you've gotten there by the time you've read this, but I know that I'll enjoy it despite the fact that I like that album. Just like the first 21 Pilots, and even does the logo. Ugh. 21 Pilots episode. Keep bustin' and hashtag don't tell Deborah. Finn. Finn, I want to give you an award, and Tim, please feel free to disagree. Love a good argument. Finn might be our biggest fan, and I'm using the word fan in this case, not our biggest listener. He might be the biggest fan of this show. Or she. I have no idea.
Deshuri Jun. Yeah, hard to tell.
There's a number of comments on most episodes, so,
Yeah.
Finn, you are the official, unofficial, #1 fan of the show. Listeners, hatepodmail@gmail.com. Prove us wrong. Dethrone Finn.
Ooh, we should have a good dethroning.
That's what I'm asking for. But I mean, there's a lot of great references in there. You got the Chief, you got Tom Rady, you've got the Nebraska situation. What else was in here? Keep bustin', #Don't Tell Deborah. I love it.
Yeah. It's almost the sort of thing that we should do an episode that he requested on.
It's not really on the schedule, though we did recently talk about 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Anywho, Tim, great emails this week. That brings us to music news of the weird. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
I would like it if you went first.
Music news of the weird.
All right, I'm going to steal a big one. Rapper and sometimes friend of the show, DaBaby, born Jonathan Kirk, shot and killed a man named Jalen Craig at a Charlotte area Walmart in November of 2018.
Let me stop you right there. This is a dangerous man. He is always a friend of the show.
You're right. Friend always. DaBaby. We should go back and maybe edit those previous DaBaby episodes. Because that dude keeps legally murdering people. Anyway, DaBaby claimed he was acting in self-defense at the time and proceeded to reference the shooting in many of his songs. But new security footage obtained by Rolling Stone casts a different light on the incident entirely. It appears to show DaBaby initiating a fight that led to the shooting. In the footage, DaBaby enters the frame while sucker punching the victim's friend, Henry Douglas. After the initial attack, Craig appears to reach for a gun in his waistband, but it is unclear whether or not he put it back based on a subsequent angle. The remaining footage shows DaBaby pulling out his own gun before shooting and killing Craig.
He definitely, allegedly, the video makes it appear as though DaBaby started this whole thing by just punching a guy.
It does seem that way. He also shot a man.
Well, he did do that.
Yeah.
But some witnesses didn't show up in court, so cool.
Tim, what DaBaby news do you have?
Well, Garrett, earlier this month, DaBaby shot a guy outside of his house. Allegedly. Yes, but
probably not even.
According to an insider article.
He was hanging out with me if he needs me to say that. I'm terrified of him.
Yes. We will perjure ourselves for you, DaBaby. According to an insider article, police said that the man who was shot was not welcome at the home.
Well, that's typically why you shoot people.
Yes, it sure is.
If I wasn't so scared of DaBaby, I would try with all of my power to get an interview with him for this show and only call him the baby and see if he corrects me.
Oh man, he might correct you with a bullet to the chest region.
Yeah,
allegedly.
I will definitely be wearing my bulletproof pants that day.
Yes. It's important to remember, though, the reason people are mad at DaBaby is not the Walmart brawls ending with him shooting somebody, or the fact that he takes guns to Walmart, or the alleged shooting outside of his house. It is the fact that he made homophobic comments on stage and worked with Tory Lanez, the man that allegedly shot Megan Thee Stallion in both of her feet. Also in Tony Lanez news, allegedly he offered Megan Thee Stallion $1 million to shut the fuck up about that time he shot her in both of her feet.
Tim, do you have any, I think last week we discussed how to fake your own death in great detail and in a very actionable plan. Genius. Yes. Any recommendations for laundering that amount of cash? That's a lot of cash. Now, obviously, most of our listeners are going to think, well, I'm going to duct tape that cash to my body and smuggle it into the Caribbean ASAP. And you're not wrong. But depending on the denomination, that could be quite a few stacks.
That's true, yeah. You know, I'm not really much of a money launderer. I'm more of a fake your own death kind of guy. But
you could invest in a fledgling podcast.
That's true, yeah. There's all sorts of little businesses out there that, let's say, if you say you invested in the business, so let's say I invested $1,000 in this business. You can come up with a reason why you would have $1,000. I can't, but you could. Sure. And then 2 weeks later, the, podcast or lemonade stand or whatever has done so well that they give you $1 million back on that investment. And then, so you put it in the bank, and yeah, sure, you'll probably have to pay some taxes, but you'll get quite a bit of that money still. any criminal activity is on that lemonade stand. Because what were they doing that made, you got back 1,000 times your investment in a week? Those children are selling cheese.
It's weird that you are both simultaneously basically explaining how to launder money while also giving the worst money laundering advice I've ever heard.
No.
Money launderers, write in hatepodmail@gmail.com if you would like to invest in a largely cash podcast that has a lot of expenses with subjective cost.
Yes. I think it was good advice, though, because, again, you're putting the onus to explain how that money was made on those children and their lemonade stand. Well,
I don't think you're wrong, Tim, but again, you can't give someone $1,000 and then get back $1 million. You're too impatient. Way too impatient.
No, that's the beauty of this. It makes them look like real criminals. Those children, you see.
How you don't go to jail is beyond me.
Again, I blame children. Garrett, do you have any more DaBaby or Tony Lanez news? Or even Megan Thee Stallion news? Or other news?
I do have other news.
Okay, let's do that.
Tim, bad news. Ms. Britney Spears has revealed via an Instagram post last Sunday as we record this that she will be stepping back, quote, for a little while. She's, quote, going on a social media hiatus for a little while. I send my love and God bless you all. Flying heart emoji, rose, rose. Now, while Ms. Spears has in fact kept her 40.9 million Instagram followers regularly updated, she is going to go radio silent, presumably over the course of her impending pregnancy.
Smart?
Well, yeah, it's very smart. It also may have something to do with the fact that since she has been released, or at least placed on her own recognizance, her Instagram posts have somehow become more provocative.
Well, that's the problem. If you want to continue not being in a conservatorship, you just have to shut the fuck up and not give a bunch of reasons why maybe somebody should be in charge of you. That's the move. Just like be quiet. It's like, it's good. When you're super drunk and in public and you're just like, just shut the fuck up and those cops will go away. They have no idea, but if you open your stupid mouth, you're going to go to jail.
It's a good point, Tim. Good advice. What other news do you have?
Well, Garrett, in TikTok news this week, Kirk Hammett is going solo. Sort of. He is, with Metallica's blessing, releasing an instrumental EP called Portals, an idea he came up with when he was doing an exhibition of horror movie posters, not that he made, but that he collected over the years. And according to Rolling Stone, he is working with San Francisco Symphony conductor Edwin Outwater on some quote-unquote horror-themed music, among other things. He said, "It's a fucking instrumental album, and it sounds nothing like Metallica. So it sits in a different spot than all the music I've been involved in the past, and I like that." He played the music allegedly for his bandmates and their management. He thought it might be better to release it after the next Metallica album. And they said, nah, just put it out now. It's fine. We don't care.
Yeah, whether people don't buy it now or don't buy it later doesn't really matter to us.
Right. But if you, listener, are the kind of person that watched Some Kind of Monster and thought, I'd really like more Kirk Hammett, this might be the release for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reached for comment. James Hetfield said, "No woo." It's cheap laugh.
It's funny. What other news you got, Garrett?
Well, Tim, in what is probably well known to our listeners, A$AP Rocky was arrested on April 20th for assault with a deadly weapon. The shooting occurred in the Hollywood area on November 6, 2021 at around 10:15 p.m. during an argument, quote, between two acquaintances. The argument escalated and resulted in a suspect firing a handgun at the victim, who was later treated for minor injury. Rocky and two other men then fled the scene on foot, said the authorities. And Tim, this is not news. The part that I want to focus on is, my God, dude. Oh, first, just to refresh everyone's memory, this is the same jackass that got locked up in Sweden when he was, quote, defending himself, but clearly just attacked somebody. But even when he was found guilty, was allowed to leave because he had already been there for a month.
Yeah, I believe Trump tried to weigh in on this in like 2017 or something.
So ridiculous.
2019, maybe?
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. But anyway, A$AP, you have a wonderful career. You knocked up Rihanna. Stop being an asshole.
Right. This is O.J. Simpson rules. You got away with something. I need to stop referring to that as a great thing.
Wait, putting a baby in Rihanna?
Or the music, or really any of it. The previous arrests that didn't really come to anything. Just,
I mean, yeah.
again, it's being drunk in public. Just shut the fuck up. Everything's gonna be fine. Stop assaulting people. Stop firing guns and grazing people's hands. That's still a crime. You know what?
Yeah.
If you didn't hit him at all, still a crime. Stop shooting at people.
Don't have a gun on you. You have an entourage. You know what their job is? To have a gun on them.
Yeah.
Talk to Diddy. Diddy did it right. Tim, what other news do you have?
I have no other news. That was my last news story. You stole 2 of my stories.
I'm going to hit you with one more that is just weird. Producer T-Bone Burnett. Do you know who T-Bone Burnett is, Tim?
Oh, yeah. He's a famous Texas guy.
Nope. That's T-Boone Pickens.
I believe T-Bone Burnett is, he's been around Texas for a while. He does country
I
stuff.
hate you so much. Producer T-Bone Burnett has long promised that he was developing a new form of analog music that would improve on both vinyl and CDs as well as digital streaming.
Thanks, Neil Young.
Right.
Stop
But just
it.
to be really clear, what I'm about to describe to you is a new analog format. Analog.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I understand. He's going to get like a beer bottle that has songs carved into the side of it or something.
You're not that far off. Tim, he has been in the studio with Bob Dylan re-recording some of the legendary singer-songwriter's classic songs because, to be clear, with this analog format, you can't merely transfer. He says, quote, "An Ionic original is the pinnacle of recorded sound. It is archival quality. It is future-proof. It is one of one."
It's future-proof.
Correct. Shut up.
Does that mean it won't work in the future?
It means it will not be conquered by the future.
Oh, okay. No, you know what? That checks out.
He goes on, "Not only is an Ionic original the equivalent of a painting, it is a painting. It is lacquer painted onto an aluminum disc with a spiral etched into it by music. This painting, however, has the additional quality of containing that music, which can be heard by putting a stylus into the spiral and spinning it." I think he made a metal record.
It does sound like that. Also, I'm a little insulted that you didn't believe the Texas guy thing.
Well, I also thought that you're just fucking with me because it sounds like T-Boone Pickens.
No, Garrett.
Oh, I guess he's Oklahoma?
I think
Yeah,
so.
he's Oklahoma anyway. Okay. All right. Sorry. Just, you have a habit of making things difficult.
He was from Fort Worth, Garrett.
Listen.
Tim Bone Burnett is a great man.
Tim Bone Pickens and his brother.
Tim Bone Burnett, yes.
Tim Bone Pickens. God. All right, that's enough of this news segment. It really went to shit at the end. That's fine. That's pretty much the show anyway. Now we announce the album we're going to be listening to and probably disliking for an entire week. I've already forgotten what it is. Tim, what album are we going to be listening to for an entire week straight?
I guess we're not going to do the blurry face. Garrett, we are going to listen to Incubus's Make Yourself. I apologize, Deschorejun 95. Thin, if you will. We will do blurry face. I promise we will do blurry face. It might take another 4 years. Or next week. We'll see. Not next week. Next week is Incubus, Make Yourself.
Okay, Tim, any predictions here? I know at least a song.
I think you're going to know several of them. The problem is this is like acoustic late 90s rock. Think Matchbox 20, think Third Eye Blind kind of stuff. But with really prominent record scratches just over that for some reason. So it's worse than those things. Oh, yeah. This is
I was going to say this was more edgy.
No, this is record scratch to shit.
Well, that makes me happy.
Not me, friend. I assume that's why you're happy.
It is. Alrighty, Timmy. Well, then I can already imagine next week's going to be really unpleasant for you. How exciting. Folks, if you can, we've mentioned it once before, but I'm going to say it a second time. Go out to the old podcast, Apple Podcast app. Follow us, subscribe, rate, review, whatever. I think right now we've insulted an entire nation as our last review. So if you could get out there, throw a 5 stars up there, and that's all you got time for, you're done. Way to go. You've really helped the show. If you want to stand out in the crowd, be possibly featured on a Prepisode like this one, write a review. Get weird, get inside, talk about Gino, that cup of coffee that's haunting us. Our new East Coast headquarters. East Coasters, we're coming your way. This is not a bit. I know everyone thinks we're joking. We are securing real estate. This is happening.
Yeah, this summer I will post some photos from our view of New York City. I believe we'll have a view of Central Park. If you're Filipino and you were not insulted by things we said, I don't know what, but go back and listen to the full archive. Apparently we said something insulting about Filipinos or their customs. If you're Filipino and have listened to every episode and not been offended specifically about your culture, write in or write a review because apparently we're offensive.
Yeah. Sorry. I can't apologize for something I have no idea what.
Here's the
what
thing.
offended.
If we've insulted your entire culture and you're going to give us a 1-star review, that's fine. But at least write what it was, because I'm not going back to listen to anything. I'm not even going to control F Filipino.
No. Also, I'm almost certain I've never written a note about a Filipino.
I've written many. I choose not to say them, or you edit them out. Maybe one
The
got
latter.
through.
Anyway, moving on. You can email us directly at hatepodmail@gmail.com or go to hatepod.com and click on contact us in the upper left-hand corner. I'm working on creating a new website still. It's a slow going. But once I do, everything will update automagically, and you will never, ever have to wonder whether or not the episode has been uploaded. Right now, I actually do have a supplemental website where every episode is uploaded. If you just Google Libsyn, Why I Hate This Album, you'll find it. It's where I'm doing some testing. Anyway, so you can find every episode, download it, whatever you want. What else? You can reach out to us on Instagram. That's HatePod. Twitter's Album HatePod. I'm G Harvey Tweets on Twitter. Reach out. We've been having some fun talks about movies, music, and the like. I appreciate it. They're always interesting. Believe it or not, Tim and I know about, 10% as much about music as we do about movies. And not saying we know much about either, but if you think we know even a little bit, a conversational amount about music, get us talking about movies. We've seen a lot of them, and we have thoughts. Anyway, I think that's about it. We have subreddits. We have Discord servers. I can't tell you how to join it. We are on it, but I don't know how it happened. I think someone did it for us. Anyway, for Why I Hate This Album, I've been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, Timothy Richardson, and my favorite T-Bone Burnett fact is that he has completely forgotten the origin of his own nickname.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.